So I recently shared a video and some posts on active versus passive investing. There are, different directions that you can go if you're interested in getting into real estate, but maybe you don't have the time or the money to do it all yourself. And so you want to go the passive route and be a little bit more hands off. There's a lot of different ways to get involved going that route. Today, just briefly, I want to talk about the pros and cons of active investing and give you a quick example. This is really how Nate and I got started with real estate, was active investing. And we'd been watching my dad for many years do active investing in Montana and some other parts of the country. So you'll see, if you take a look at my social media, a post where I share the pros and cons of active investing. And so real quick, I'll hit on the pros being complete ownership, whether it's you or you and some partners that are buying a property, you do have complete ownership of that. And that means you have full control. You get to make the final decisions and be involved day to day. Even if you have a property manager, ultimately, the final decision lands on you. So if you're a controlling person, which I am, if you want that control, active investing is a really great route to take because you get to be involved in day to day and really move the needle. Also, you get all of the profits. If you're involved with partners, you get to share those profits. And so some might say that you'll get stronger returns on the active side. I think that really depends on the deal from both active and passive side, because you could have an active deal that does very, very poorly versus a passive deal that might do really, really well, or vice versa. So I think it really does come a lot more down to the deal itself versus just active versus passive investing and the returns that you might see. Also, you're able to take advantage of full depreciation, and that's probably going to be a video for another day talking about depreciation. That is a whole nother animal, and there's some really great tax benefits you can take advantage of when it comes to depreciation on the property. And so again, something we'll talk about later on, and the tax write-offs again, like I said. So there's some really great pros with active investing. If you want to go that route, I think it's fantastic, and there's a lot to learn, but I think that there's a lot of really great pros, and getting that cash flow on a regular basis is really nice. It does help supplement your income. I talk to investors a lot that are, enjoying their jobs, but maybe they want to cut back a little bit and they want to work a little less. And so they're trying to figure out ways to bring in some other income so that they can cut back less. And so with active investing, you might see some really strong cash flows, which I'll explain one of our properties here in a minute and just how that's breaking down. And then the cons on the active investing side is it really does require market knowledge. You need to know the market well, before investing, because there's a lot that goes into buying a property, managing the property well, and seeing strong cash flow. You can't just go out and buy something and hope that it works out. You definitely need to understand your market and where the rents are at. Also, you need to, potentially source your own deals or work with realtors, wholesalers. There's different types of and groups of people that you can get deals from, but typically it's going to be you sourcing your deals. That's going to be you underwriting your deals, understanding the numbers behind it all. And, your financing of the deal, if you go through traditional loan or a hard money lender, there's so many different avenues for how you could finance that, but that is something that does land on you, is the financing piece. And also having that loan in your name. So obviously there's some risk involved on that front. You are responsible for 100% of the risk. Also, making repairs, even if you have a property manager, you still are paying for those repairs. You're still overseeing them, that the property manager might communicate with you like, hey, an AC is down. We're going to have to get this scheduled. If you're managing the property, you're the one that's dealing with day-to-day issues. So that's just something to keep in mind as well. Finding qualified tenants. Again, if you are the landlord on the property, you're the one that's having to take care of finding those great tenants. And it's definitely a learning curve. You need to understand and look at a lot of different factors when deciding who you want to put into one of your properties. We use some software that's helped us with background checks and credit checks. I really look at those things. I look at their job history. I call their references. I call their previous landlords. I look at who they're going to be living with. Is it a friend or a boyfriend, a spouse? Do they have kids? Do they have animals? There's a lot of factors when it comes to finding qualified tenants. It's not as easy as just like throwing your listing out there and hoping for the best. You really have to do your due diligence, and it takes time. And having a gap in your unit being rented can also mean money that you're not making. You might have a mortgage due and you don't have tenants in there to pay that mortgage, so you're responsible for that. So that's just something to keep in mind as well. Again, managing day-to-day operations, I've mentioned that. Dealing with ongoing maintenance, I've mentioned that. And then just being, again, responsible for 100% of the risk. So definitely keep these things in mind as you're considering, active versus passive investing, the pros and cons. I think either way, it can be really great. Again, we've done both. And to give you a really quick snapshot on some of the numbers on one of our active investments, this will just give you an idea of how, we've done one property. We have a duplex, and we bought the property for $231,000 years ago. We got a pretty solid interest rate. I think it was like 4.5%. So our payment every month on that is around $960. We did have to put 25% down, and the payment monthly is $960. Our rents for both sides are, I believe, I should have pulled this up before this, but we get close to $2,000 a month on that property between the two tenants and the rents that come in. And so we include water and trash for that. It is included in their rents, and then they're responsible for electric and internet. And so the property is on a well and a septic system, which has kind of been a pain in some ways. I can talk about that another time. It's, there's certainly different options for the types of properties you're purchasing. But anyways, all that to say, I do have a property manager for that property. They charge me 10%. So, if we're bringing in around $2,000 a month, they're taking out $200 for their fee. And they deal with mostly everything for that. Occasionally I'll have to get involved if there's a really big issue or a non-paying tenant. But they typically deal with most things, finding the tenant, placing the tenant, rents every month, maintenance. If I need them to go in there and change out a filter, they can do that. I usually ask my tenants to do that, and I provide them with filters. But there's, it's fairly hands-off. And so, on average, I'm bringing in around a little over $800 a month for that building, or 400 plus per door. But I do need to set aside money for maintenance and for, some type of repairs that might come up. And they do. I had a well, my well pump, I think it was last year. So I think it was last year, went down, and it was like $1,800 to repair that, which was really unfortunate, So there's been a few things here and there that have come up. We repainted one of the units when a tenant moved out. That was, $1,200. I think I don't have the number off the top of my head, but there's things like that you just have to be prepared for. So I do not pocket all of that cash. I set some of that money aside for those repairs, for the maintenance, for taxes. And so definitely keep those things in mind. Every person looks for a different number when it comes to the cash flow. And obviously the interest rates you're getting on the property certainly will impact your cash flow as well. So in this market, things have changed a little bit. It's harder to find deals that pencil out the way that they did years ago when interest rates were really low. So that's a quick example of an active investment that we've had for years, and it's been pretty solid for the most part. Every once in a while, there's issues, just like any of our other properties, but I'm thankful for property management. That's been a big help to me, not having to deal with the day-to-day operations on that property.